Alright everybody, welcome back to Dark Souls 2. Today we're starting off in the Iron Keep. And we're just going to go ahead and start off with the Old Iron King. I did try to defeat Smelter Demon, but unfortunately the run up to Smelter Demon is pretty difficult even with a bow. They do kind of make the enemies there trivial. But not being able to sunlock them like I would with a normal weapon like a rapier or something like that kind of proved a little bit irritating after a while. And then once you actually get to Smelter Demon himself, the room is so small that trying to dodge away from some of the hits that he can do and avoid taking damage from him when he starts his into his second phase, where he actually lights himself on fire, and then into his third phase where he just does damage to him if you get near him at all. It proved to be a little bit too much, just because I wasn't doing a whole lot of damage. I wasn't able to dodge quickly out of the way and still get shots off, and even shooting poison arrows into him to poison him didn't really seem to do much. So I just kind of gave up for a little bit on him. We will go back later and fight him in another video. But Old Iron King here is a completely different story entirely. To start off with, you can poison him really quickly. So I started out the fight by doing that. And for two, he leaves himself open so much for attacks that it almost seems like I'm being unfair to him by doing this. Coming back to the area where no fire is pretty much going to hit me, except for right there. I actually thought that I was entirely safe in that area, but it turns out if he does shoot fire directly onto it, it will actually hit you. So basically the idea is just to kind of keep your distance and shoot pot shots at him. Poison him again whenever he loses the poison status, and that's pretty much the entire fight. Like I said, as long as you're dodging the laser when he does that, like I unfortunately did not there, as long as you are in the safe spot, most of the attacks will not hit you, and just rinse and repeat. If he goes under the lava like this, then run to the left side of the room here and wait for him to come back up and go back and do it all over again. The biggest thing with this is because of the fact that most people would probably be locked on like I am when shooting this. It's just a whole lot easier than trying to zoom in and aim. It's really easy to fall into the lava pit that's over to my left there, and easy to fall off the level if you're not paying enough attention. So as long as you pay attention and as long as you keep your distance, you should be pretty good. The Ruined Sentinels fight actually is kind of a different story though. You can poison them, so I went in and immediately tried to get as much poison as I could built up so that I could get the damage going. But the range on their attacks tends to be a little bit troublesome to dodge when you're standing there trying to actually get off shots on them. So I ended up pretty much being able to get one or two shots in every now and then and just have to dodge out of the way. Now, of course, you start off on this top platform here, and I thought the best way to handle this boss would be to stay up here for as long as I could and wait for them to come up to me. I tried to get a few shots here, but my aim just was sucking ass, so I ended up having to wait for this one to jump up. So I immediately tried to get the poison status afflicted, but unfortunately they did this attack and fell back off the edge. And in just a moment, both of them actually jump back up here, and I narrowly miss getting hit by one of them. So I just decided to take it down to the ground floor. And this is where it gets kind of annoying because of the fact that now I have to worry about the attacks from both of them at the exact same time. So I wanted to try to put as much space between myself and them as I could. One of the interesting things about this arena is there are a bunch of false walls that are around, and you can actually open those even during the boss fight, but I was unaware that you couldn't actually go up there, so there was fog blocking the way, and of course I couldn't actually get up there. But I figured it would be, something worth trying. For one, to answer that question for myself, to see if you could get up there during the boss fight, and then two, I was trying to figure out if maybe I could get back up there and get a better area to kind of separate them and shoot them. And that move that they do right there is one of the main reasons that I wanted to put as much distance between myself and them as I could. That's actually the move that killed me 2 times before I actually got the win on this one. So, yeah, it can be pretty troublesome sometimes. So basically what I did was I tried to target one, whittle their health down with some poison and some fire arrows, and then just keep the other one in my sights. And it ended up working pretty well. They do the Captain America throw with their shield there, and that means that every hit that I do from now on is going to give full damage, and they can't block them anymore like they were kind of doing in the first part of the fight once I got them down here. So by the time that there's only one of these guys, they're pretty much a joke. As long as you can keep them both in your sight and be prepared for any attack that they could unleash on you, they end up being pretty easy even as a duo. I didn't even try to jump down and do all 3 of them at the same time. I just didn't think it would be worth trying because of the fact that I would have to do that with this boss. Now, as far as I am concerned, this is the second worst boss of Dark Souls 2. Not only is it pretty much just a reskin of the Gargoyles fight in Dark Souls 1, but it's just lazy to me. I'm barely doing any damage to them. Luckily, you are able to poison them so that when you're unable to get any damage in on one of them, as long as you can get them poisoned, you'll still do damage. It's a little bit difficult to get enough poison build up on them, though, because of the fact that you have to continuously dodge out of the way of a second or sometimes third one's attack, and even the ones that you're targeting, like, they move around so much that it just kind of becomes troublesome. I also did run into the issue where sometimes one would get in the way of the other one that I was targeting, and that would kind of get annoying. But it wasn't something that was, impossible to deal with. You just had to kind of be conservative with your shots and make sure that, whatever you were doing, you kept as many of them in your sights as you possibly could. I was actually able to defeat this boss on my first try, so that was pretty cool. Not having to deal with this more than once is always nice. Main reason for that is because I have done this fight with a bow before. I had a much better bow, though. I had the fully upgraded Hunter's Black Bow. So this went a whole lot quicker than it did here. But yeah, it just, once you get the third one in there, it just kind of becomes, it just becomes a thing where you're only really trying to dodge out of the way and just get a shot in whenever you can. If they had kept this to where it was just 1 or 2 at a time, I think it would have just been a better boss fight in general. Or if they had, done anything to kind of differentiate this from the Bell Gargoyles in Dark Souls 1, that would have been fantastic. But that's not what they wanted to do with this. I kind of get what they were going for with the boss, to kind of give you like a remembrance of Dark Souls 1. It's kind of the same thing they did with the old Dragon Slayer, having Ornstein in Hyde's Tower of Flame, but it just ended up coming off as a weak boss fight. So I don't really know much. I don't really know what else I can say about this. So all in all, not terribly difficult with a bow, but having a more upgraded bow would definitely be more beneficial at that point. And here we go with the Lost Sinner. This is one of my favorite boss fights in the game. I think it's a very simple boss fight, and it's probably one of the reasons I actually like it. Because it's really simple, but it's really effective in what it does. Now, I actually ended up lighting up the room just because I've done this fight without lighting the room up before, and I wanted to see like what the difference really was. And really the only difference is the fact that you can lock on at a greater distance and you don't lose lock on when she does the jumping attack. But really the only strategy that you need to use is to constantly just be on the lookout for the attacks that she does. Roll to the right and get behind her, grab 1 or 2 shots if you're able to. And that's pretty much it. You can poison her. I think it takes like 6 or 7 arrows to do so though. But really the strategy for using a bow didn't really change from any of the other weapons that I've used defeating her. She does like to do this thing where she jumps back to put distance from herself and you, but I think staying close to her really is the best way to handle this boss fight. She does have some super weird hitboxes with the sword, so I just try to make sure that I heal up as much as possible and keep my health topped off, just in case I get hit by one of those wayward hitboxes that she has sometimes. But I'm doing pretty decent damage to her as well, and that actually kind of surprised me. It might be because in this particular playthrough I came here later than I normally would. And that move that she just did can happen as well. That's happened to me a bunch of times when I've gone through this fight. Even when I've gone through this with a melee weapon, she will just decide randomly to jump past you and you kind of have to correct like in the moment. Sometimes the arrows just will completely miss her, like what happened there. And yeah, it's super weird. As much as I do love this fight, there's definitely some jank that goes along with it. And yeah, I guess really the only thing to say is don't get her on the wall like I had her a little bit ago, because that definitely leaves you open to being able to get hit by her sword a lot easier. So that's pretty much it for the Lost Sinner. If I had gotten hit one more time, I definitely would have lost that one, but luckily I was able to do that in one try this time. Pretty easy fight altogether. Don't have to change up the strategy much, which was really nice. And I'm just showing the leveling up here. Decided to give myself some more ADP after that fight so that I could extend my rolls. And now we're going to fight the Royal Rat Vanguard. I don't really know much to say about this fight. Shoot the rats until the one with the mohawk comes down, and then shoot the one with the mohawk. It can get kind of annoying because the rats can gang up on you, but, you know, 2 shots and they're dead. Try to keep your distance because of the fact that you can get knocked out of one of your shots, like what just happened to me a moment ago. And watch out for the statues. I literally don't have anything else to say about this fight. This is one of the easiest fights in Dark Souls 2. This is not what I would consider a boss fight, and definitely not a very good boss fight in this game. For all of the great ones that I actually do think Dark Souls 2 has, this is definitely not one of them. So I want to talk for a little bit about the fire arrows that I'm using. In other playthroughs that I've done, I don't actually ever get fire arrows aside from the ones that I use in the last giant boss fight. Because you kind of have to go out of your way to open up the ability to buy fire arrows. But this playthrough I decided that I would go ahead and do that I would open up everything that I could. And the way you do that is you get the Fang key in the Shaded Woods by using a Fragrant Branch of Yore on one of the lion guys. The one that's like right next to the bonfire that you find there. And once you do that, you can go into another part of the level and open a door, and that will open up the blacksmith Ornifex. And once you actually open her up, you can buy unlimited fire arrows from her. And that's also, you can get certain boss weapons from her as well. And you can also get a compound bow from her, which definitely would have given me a whole lot more damage, but because we're so close to Drangleic and getting the actual bow that I wanted to use for this run, it didn't really seem like it was worth it to pick it up. Although I do want to do some testing with it eventually, just to see like how much of a damage difference it does compared to like the short bow or even the long bow. But anyways, we're fighting the Rotten now. Getting down here is a pretty big pain in the ass if you don't know exactly where to run in the gutter. And then having to deal with all of the stuff in Black Gulch is a really big pain in the ass too. There's like 2 or 3 invaders that can come down there. I think 2 that are kind of scripted to happen, and Forlorn can also invade you down there. I think in one of the runs to this boss, Forlorn actually did invade me. So, yeah, that got kind of irritating after a little while. But you can pretty much just run to the boss gate and get past them, and they'll just, you know, they'll just return home once you actually enter the fog door. But getting to the fog door in Black Gulch sucks. I, for some reason, can never dodge every single one of the poison things, and I always end up getting poisoned, or, you know, getting hit by one and almost getting poisoned. I don't really have much to say about the Rotten in general. I tried to keep my distance as much as I could, but for some reason he just kept continuously like moving towards me in the first part of the fight. The thing that you have to watch out for most is just, you know, getting around the arena and not stepping into the fire and taking damage. Definitely got to watch out for his AoE, which he hit me with a little bit ago, because if you stand too close to him for too long, like around his backside, he will actually start doing that. And you can see even there, like, I just decided to roll into the fire to avoid that attack because I knew I would take less damage from the fire. The fight looks terrible. I just didn't do very well in it. I got hit by a lot of stuff, but in general, this is pretty much just like how you would fight him melee-wise, unless you were one of those people that likes to cut his arms off, you know, and basically make him helpless for a little bit during the fight. So that's going to do it for this video. Really enjoying doing the commentary for this, so I'm definitely looking forward to doing the next one, and I hope you are looking forward to watching it. Thank you very much, and have a great day.